What is going on? Welcome to the CANAM Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Phillip Lamb, and we've got a great show for you today. We're doing top 15 wide receivers of 2020. Hey, what's going on, YouTube? I'm Ryan Phillip Lamb. To my right is Aetan. Aetan, how's it going? I had to think about that for a second.
Yeah. Which way is it? Is it right or is it left? You know, you gotta think about the mirror image and all that stuff. But I just want to say I was super bummed I missed last episode because I love talking about running backs, and I'm extremely excited to be on this one because wide receivers are just as fun.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's all part of the good old fantasy football thing. Below Aetan is Tyler. Tyler, what's going on, man?
I'm doing pretty good too. I'm also excited to talk about wide receivers. One of the things I'm excited about this year is in CANAM, I own Michael Thomas, so I know you guys are already jealous of me. So yeah, let's get talking about him today.
Just takes him about 30 seconds to get under my skin. Gotta love it. Oh boy, Devan Dulu, what is going on, brother?
What's up? Stoked to be here. And
nice.
Yeah, wide receivers. There's a lot of them. So here we go.
Hell yeah. Well, we're about to go through the top 15, the consensus top 15 rankings of the show. So we're really looking forward to this episode. But before we do that, we got to have a little word from our sponsors ourselves. Join us in our drive for 500 subscribers, and you could win a signed Amari Cooper jersey. Are you new to the channel? Give us a like, subscribe, and click the notify bell. It helps a ton for a new channel like ours. We're going to have a random draw for a signed Amari Cooper jersey shipped anywhere in North America. So go ahead, click subscribe, and thank you for watching the CANAM Fantasy Football Podcast. CANAM Fantasy Football Podcast. We're talking the top 5 wide receivers of 2020. We're trying to help you guys get ready for your drafts out there. What's going on, Ryan, Aetan, Tyler, and Devan? We're going to be chatting about this group of people right over here. Now, here's our top 15, the channel's consensus top 15 rankings. We've got Michael Thomas, Julio Jones, Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, and DeAndre Hopkins in the 1 to 5 spot. So we're going to go ahead and get things kicked off. Talking about, of course, the no-doubter, Michael Thomas now. Michael Thomas, he saw over 30% of the target share of the Saints offense last season. He had 185 targets, which is a crazy amount. Of course, he's bound for regression. The next closest wide receiver was Chris Godwin, and the margin wasn't even close. It was 70 points and half point per reception. That's how much the difference was between the wide receiver 1 and the wide receiver 2. And even with modest projections and regression in that Saints offense, let's face it, Michael Thomas is still our consensus number 1. What can we say about that, Tyler?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really see any argument to him being number 1. You're bound to see a regression as far as targets goes. It was just a ridiculous amount last year. I think I have to look back on the actual stats, but I'm pretty sure it was close to the record. I'm not sure.
It was the record.
It was the record. Okay, that's what I thought. So say he loses 20 targets, you're still looking at 165. That's crazy amount of targets, and you're looking at a guy who doesn't drop passes very often. So PPR, half point PPR, that alone is going to get you a ton of points. And then you got add on top of the fact that this guy catches touchdowns all day long. So and he gets long balls too. So I mean, I don't see how you could sleep on this guy. If you have the chance to take him after maybe the first few elite couple or three elite running backs, he's your guy to get you a safe fantasy floor for all season long.
Yeah, absolutely. Devan, let's say that you have the choice between Michael Thomas or your boy Miles Sanders. Which way do you go?
I would take I would take Michael Thomas, because in that situation, I'm assuming like, where am I in the draft? Like later half or middle?
Well,
middle,
let's say that you're drafting right at his ECR, which is about 6.
Yeah, I'd take Michael Thomas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair. Well, that's cool. There's not much discussion there. If you have an opportunity to draft Michael Thomas, it's going to be a huge advantage in the wide receiver slot. And when you're looking for a wide receiver one, whoever you're drafting, you want them to, kind of like running back, you want to draft someone who has the potential to be the overall number one. This next person, we're going to chat with Aetan about him, Julio Jones. Now, despite early and false narratives, Julio Jones is one of the most consistent top-end wide receivers in the NFL. And this talk about injury issues is just overblown and ridiculous. So we've seen him limping a couple of times. The dude produces. He's got 6 straight seasons with more than 1,390 yards. And he's posted wide receiver 2 or better numbers for 65% of his entire career.
Yeah.
Wide receiver 1 numbers for over 40%. You mix him with Calvin Ridley in that Falcons offense, whew, that's a formidable duel. That's going to keep the defenses guessing for sure. Aetan, what do you think about him?
Just building on what you just said there. I mean, if you go back the last 6 seasons, he's hit 1,400 yards 5 of those 6, and the 1 year he didn't, he missed it by 6 yards. I mean, this guy puts up serious yardages, and it's very puzzling that he doesn't find the end zone more, considering how much yards he gets on the field. And every single year you see the same old clip. You know, Julio gets the ball, he runs it for 70 yards and gets tackled on this 2-yard line. And it's kind of puzzling how that always seems to happen to the guy. But at some point, he's going to keep punching those in, I think. And, you know, you're going to see the double-digit touchdowns potentially. And if he can hit the double-digit touchdowns, he has a chance to dethrone Michael Thomas if Michael Thomas regresses a bit. But this guy's highly skilled. He's highly consistent. And definitely he's someone that you want on your team if you can grab him.
Oh, no doubt. Now, Tyler, a lot of people like the shiny new toy. When you're thinking about Calvin Ridley, do you think this might be the year that he dethrones Julio in Atlanta?
Dethrones? I don't think dethrones. I don't think he's going to finish ahead of Julio, but definitely take away from his targets and potentially his touchdowns as well. I think so, yeah. I think this is the year he makes that big leap to an elite wide receiver. High end. I see Ridley's ceiling as a high end wide receiver 2. Julio, I see as a wide receiver 1 no matter what. So Julio is the guy you're looking for in Atlanta, but Ridley's not a bad option.
Yeah, I totally like that for sure. Now we're going from a high octane passing offense to a Green Bay offense that unfortunately hasn't had as much zip in the balls recently, despite having one of the best quarterbacks of all time, Aaron Rodgers. We're talking about Davante Adams, who we have as our consensus wide receiver 4 for the CANAM Fantasy Football Channel. And, you know, when we're looking at him, in my opinion, he is probably, in my opinion, the most likely candidate to unseat Michael Thomas as the overall wide receiver 1 for this season. He averages 11 targets per game. He's got no other weapons that he has to worry about. I mean, like, sure, we got Alan Lazard there, but I mean, how much are you going to be worried about that? Hopefully he can step up and be a decent wide receiver 2 to take some of the heat off of Davante Adams, but it seems like it doesn't matter. Regardless of situation, Davante Adams produces. Devan, if you have a chance, what are you thinking about Davante Adams this season?
Well, first of all, I was wondering if you'd be able to clip you saying I want to zip balls, because that was great. But we need a drop of that for sure. But Adams, okay, so here's the thing about Adams. Adams Packers didn't really add anyone of note to their wide receiver core. A-Rod wants to throw to Adams. Adams had 127 targets in 12 games last year, which if you extrapolate that over 16 would be about 169 targets. The same number Adam had in about 2018. Now, there was a portion of last year when he came back from turf toe injury in November where Rodgers targeted him 91 times in 8 games. If you extrapolate that's 182 targets for the entire season. Obviously, that's probably not going to keep up that way, but the point I'm trying to make is the guy is heavily targeted. The knock on him, injury, turf toe, maybe that comes back. Will there be some TD regression? I don't know, but ultimately, A-Rod is mad, and Adams will be a part of that revenge tour.
Yeah, I really dig that narrative. Aetan, do you buy into the Aaron Rodgers revenge tour?
Oh, I buy into it big time, and I do not buy into regression on touchdowns because that's all this guy does. This guy makes his fantasy platform on touchdowns. He's one of the best, if not the best, red zone wide receiver in the whole league. I really think that he's going to make a living on it, and yeah, I think this is the Rodgers revenge tour for sure. I think he's going to be mad, and I think he's going to be looking for his main guy, Adams. And it's going to be a good year to have him. I think the biggest thing is, as always, injuries. He stays healthy, he can easily finish top 3, no doubt.
Yeah, I love that take for sure. Now, you were saying top 3. He's actually top 3. I made a little flub. Said he was the fourth wide receiver on our list. We're going to talk about our 4th wide receiver on our list, which is Tyreek Hill. Now, he is pretty much, when you look at Devontae Adams, rock solid with 11 targets per game. Tyreek Hill, he's kind of the highest of the top end boomer bust wide receivers. And there's going to be weeks where Tyreek alone will win you a week. Last year, he averaged just over 7 targets a game, which isn't all that much. But it speaks to the talent of the wide receiver, the fact that he can take just over 7 targets a game and make and break games on his own. And when you're looking at, of course, the addition of one certain amazing running back talent, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I mean, that's fantastic for them. Of course, it's not going to help him in the target department. And regardless of who you have as the second option, whether it's Sammy Watkins or it's Mecole Hardman, there's no targets lost there either. So he's probably going to be having around the same targets per game. So drafting Hill, you're pretty much banking on boomer bust, and you probably want to have a second, for your wide receiver too. You want to have a really consistent option for that. What do you think about that, Tyler?
I absolutely agree with Tyreek Hill. I actually had him ranked higher than Adams in my personal rankings. The reason I had that is because this guy's faced a lot of injuries the last couple of years, and I guess that's always a drawback. But if this guy is healthy all season, this guy can go off. This guy could be the wide receiver 1 easily. As far as speed, he's already been clocked as the fastest guy in the NFL multiple times. I think we've all seen that highlight of him catching Williams free to the end zone. Williams looks back for his defenders coming after him, and it's just Tyreek trying to catch up to him. I mean, this guy's a cheat out there.
It's a beautiful clip.
And, so I mean, you put that kind of talent on what should be the best offense in the league this year, and you're not going to be risking much with Tyreek Hill. I'm very excited to see if I could get him in any in my leagues this year.
No doubt. Devin, if you end up drafting Tyreek Hill, who would you say is your perfect wide receiver 2 to provide you that consistent floor?
I would usually look for Robert Woods or a Cooper Kupp. I just like those Rams wide receivers, and I think Tyler will like that. I think that.
For those who haven't seen the show before, Tyler is a huge Rams fanatic, so no question about that. Just a bit. All right, moving right along.
Can I just put one little piece in there about?
Yeah, please do.
I put him one or two spots lower just because I do like a little bit more consistency in my wide receivers. And there is the big boom and bust play. And I just feel like when you have a receiver like him, the weeks that he goes off, you win your week by 40 points. And the weeks that you lose, you lost by 2. And you're looking at Tyke Hill and he's only put up 10 points. You're going, man, if you just balanced those two, I would have won both these weeks. So there is something to say about consistency. And I do put some stock into it. So I did move him down. But as for a single game wide receiver, he's probably the WR1 for what he can do in a single game. But I definitely do caution against the inconsistency that he does perform with.
Yeah, but I totally agree with that. And all on the same note, you end up getting Tyreek Hill. You don't mind. You don't mind that at all. Yeah.
Yep.
Let's move on to the wide receiver 5, DeAndre Hopkins. Now, Hopkins is a really interesting case study. He's gone over to Arizona, and he's had a career playing above the level of his quarterback, Deshaun Watson notwithstanding. Now, in the Cliff Kingsbury offense with sophomore phenom Kyler Murray, Hopkins is arguably in the most exciting situation of his career. Now, will that efficiency win out over his expected reduced target total? He typically sees 150 targets, and in this offense, it's probably going to drop. And unfortunately, reports out of Camp C, Hopkins has been dealing with a hamstring issue, which, that can't help with his acclimation to his new team. But Aetan, what do you think? Do you think he's going to be able to get beyond that injury and get on the field with Kyler?
Yeah, I do. And I actually wanted to rank him higher than I ended up doing. I just keep looking at this guy, looking at his career, looking at his numbers, and I keep wanting to put him higher on my draft board, but it's tough to do it with the new season and with a lot of options there and not knowing what Kyler Murray actually is. But when you're talking about talent-wise, this guy, I mean, he's as talented as it comes. He's only 28 years old, or is he 29? He's under 30 for sure, and he basically averages 1,200 a season for his whole career, and he's only missed 2 games in his whole career. I mean, this guy's durable. He catches a gazillion balls every year, and he puts up extremely huge amount of yards. There's so much to like about him that I think he's worth grabbing for sure.
Absolutely, Tyler. We are currently seeing DeAndre Hopkins going in the 11th spot in half point per reception. What would you say is the line for running back? At what point do you stop drafting running backs over Hopkins? I'm going to start naming some off. You go ahead and tell me when to stop. Let's start with Miles Sanders.
Definitely take Sanders.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Personally. You're going to be happy with this answer. I'd take
As you should. Nick Chubb.
Chubb? I kind of devalue Chubb a bit more than the ADP probably gives him. I might say I would probably take Hopkins just because I think Chubb's going to lose some time and possibly even the starting position sometime this year.
Yeah, concussion protocol notwithstanding. So you would go Hopkins over Chubb?
I'd go Hopkins over Chubb, yeah.
Okay, cool. So that's kind of the line right there. How about Dev, Aetan? Are you guys both in the same spot? Or are you going to continue to draft running backs over that? Let's start with Dev.
Yeah, I can agree with Tyler on that. I don't really have anything else to add to that. That's perfect.
Yeah, and then Aetan?
It's tough to say. In a half-point PPR, yeah, I'm probably still going with Chubb over Hopkins in that particular case. And I don't think he's going to be going 11 when the year starts. I think he's going to be closer to 14, 15. And
yeah,
I think at that point, that's a huge steal. It kind of depends on your league. And, a lot of the leagues that I'm in, people really value their RBs. And because of that, I feel the need to always have to grab them myself, which is probably causing more of the issue of everyone overvaluing RBs. But it's just kind of the nature of the beast. So I definitely like the idea of getting a running back, but I would take Hopkins over Tyke Hill, to be honest. If they're both sitting there and I'm sitting at pick 14 or something, I'm going Hopkins over Hill.
That's bold. I like that take for sure. Anyone else going to take Hopkins over Tyreek Hill?
Absolutely.
Tyler? No? Yeah, not me. No.
What I would say about Aetan though is I do like where Aetan's talking about ADP, where it's a lower, like the 14 range. Then you're talking about maybe you have a running back already in your first round and he's your second round pick. That combination of like one of those not elite, but one of those top 10 running backs with Hopkins is a great start to your team. So in that case, I think that's could be a great building block for you.
Yeah, and then you go a little bit later into the second round, possibly you've got a top 10 running back in either Hopkins or, say, Travis Kelce or George Kittle. I mean, like, that's a beautiful start right there. Well, that was the top 5 running backs. We're going to go ahead and take a moment to go ahead and pay our bills. But when we come back, wide receiver 6 to 10 for 2020. This is the CANAM Fantasy Football Podcast. Join us in our drive for 500 subscribers, and you could win a signed Amari Cooper jersey. Are you new to the channel? Give us a like, subscribe, and click the notify bell. It helps a ton for a new channel like ours. We're going to have a random draw for a signed Amari Cooper jersey shipped anywhere in North America. So go ahead, click subscribe, and thank you for watching the CANAM Fantasy Football Podcast. Today we're talking wide receivers on the CANAM Fantasy Football Podcast. Happy to have you guys. Welcome aboard. Go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. Hit the notify bell, all that good stuff. You got yourself Aetan, Tyler, Devan, and myself, Ryan, Phil Blam. We're going to go ahead and talk about some beautiful, beautiful wide receivers. Now, this is the range that I really dig. This is the range where you can get yourself a decent wide receiver 1 in a really good price. So I really dig this particular spot right here. We're starting off with Chris Godwin. His current ADP is 18. 18. That's beautiful. That means you can probably draft yourself a real good running back and then come back and get Chris Godwin as your wide receiver 1. It's a nice baked-in value, and he has the potential to end up as the wide receiver 1 in 2020. Next Gen Stats has him essentially pegged as Larry Fitzgerald from Bruce Arians' days back in Arizona, and of course the addition of Tom Brady with his slot receiver proclivities can only assist Godwin in building off a gaudy 2019, where he finished as the wide receiver 2 in half-point per reception leagues. And guess what, guys? He spent 63% of his offensive snaps in the slot. Aetan, what do you have to say about that?
This guy's a freak. He's extremely good. Everyone was predicting him to explode last season, and people who were smart enough to draft him with I think he was going around round 3, round 4 last year, which is, just a little bit of a heads up. That's kind of where Calvin Ridley's going this year. But yeah, right. But this guy, I mean, he performed absolutely what everyone expected. I mean, he got separation after he got the ball. He had over 500 yards after the catch. He's very, very dynamic, and I think he's going to fit in great with Brady. He's going to be right there in the middle of the field, and Brady loves getting the ball out of his hand very quick. He's very capable of throwing it downfield, but he's also very capable of, if he's seeing a lot of blitzes, he dumps the ball off 2.1 seconds. I mean, there's tons of clips out there of Brady doing it, and defenders literally are telling them to stop doing it as they're walking back to their huddle because they don't get a chance to hit them. So if the game script turns into that, I can see this guy eating a lot of targets. And he ate a lot last year at 121 in 14 games. If he hits anywhere around that, he's gonna for sure be a WR1.
Yeah, no question about that. I really like Chris Godwin this season, and a lot of people are asking, well, why aren't you talking with Devan, who is the resident Tom Brady fanatic? We're going to chat with him in a little bit. Spoiler alert, because we're going to be talking about one of Chris Godwin's teammates. But next up, DJ Moore, who is currently our wide receiver 7, the channels wide receiver 7, if you will. Now, if you are a Teddy Bridgewater truther like Tyler over here, you've got to love TJ Moore this season. He finished as the wide receiver 18.5 point per reception last year, and he had wide receiver 2 or better performances 60% of the time, despite some really shoddy quarterback play, and that's inarguable at this point. And he's got a new quarterback in Teddy Bridgewater and a new head coach in Matt Rule, but he's perfect. He's a perfect fit for Bridgewater's tendencies for sure, and he is bound to do his best Michael Thomas impression due to the fact that the Panthers are going to try to do their best impressions of the Saints offense. Do you think, Tyler, that they're going to be doing a good impression this season?
I think they'll be doing a good impression as far as moving the ball goes. Where I think they lack is they don't have that pedigree that the Saints have. I don't think the wins are going to be there for them. That might be more because of the defense. And I don't think maybe they'll be getting the end zone quite as easily as the Saints will be marching down the field. But yeah, I mean, like compare PMC.
You got that too, eh?
Yeah, you notice my marching reference. Thank you. I mean, you could compare CMC to Alvin Kamara pretty easily. That's a very similar type of player right there. So like Ryan said, DJ Moore kind of slots into that Michael Thomas role where he's going to get a ton of targets. He's going to be down the field for deep targets. And then the question is, can Teddy Bridgewater perform the way Drew Brees can perform? And what I'll go back to is last season when Teddy Bridgewater literally stepped in for Drew Brees and ran that offense very effectively. I would argue just as effectively as Brees was doing for them. So I see DJ Moore definitely having a great season this year. He didn't impress me as much as I was hoping last year, but I think this year might be with the better quarterback play, which I consider better quarterback play. I think he's going to be a lot better this year.
Oh yeah, no, totally. I know I'm giving you crap for the Teddy Bridgewater take, but honestly, that is going to be a better quarterback for sure. I love your take on that because really Bridgewater went in and he ran that offense really well. What is this? What the? A wild Randy has appeared. Randy,
What up?
Randy, what are you doing here?
I'm just hanging out.
You're just hanging out? Okay, do me a big favor.
What up?
Tell the people about Curtis Samuel and why I love him.
Oh, Curtis Samuel. He's just our guy. Like that guy.
He's beautiful.
Has so much talent and really just fell victim to Kyle Allen being trash. As what was it? He was top 5 in intended air yards for the season and literally just had to haul in a bit more than he did, and he would have been a wide receiver 2 or 3 on the season, and it just didn't happen for him. It's really just it's sad to see.
Yeah, it is really unfortunate.
It didn't happen.
Yeah. Well, goodbye. Thanks for that, Randy. The little cameo by Randy. And yeah, if you're believing that Bridgewater is going to be the next step up, then guess what? Really good sleeper, Curtis Samuel this season. Let's move on to Mike Evans, who we currently have as our wide receiver 8. Now, are you interested in a player that has gone for over 1,000 yards in each of his 6 seasons that he's played in? How about someone who's finished as a wide receiver 1 in 12-team half point per reception leagues? Draft Mike Evans, but just be wary because you're looking at an awesome finish, but Mike Evans was only a wide receiver 2 or better in just 38% of his games last season, which when I read that, I was kind of shocked. Now, the switch to Tom Brady is a concern. Not that I'm convinced that Brady has any deep ball issues. I really think that until I see Brady decline with the deep ball, I believe that he can sling it. The issue is play calling at the line. And as Aetan was alluding to when he was chatting about Chris Godwin, adjustments at the line, we know where Brady's going. He's going into the middle of the field. So we're talking Chris Godwin territory, Gronk territory, or maybe OJ Howard might make an appearance, or Ronald Jones, which is actually it's gonna be a thing this year. Just watch, mark my words. So I bet Mike Evans goes for 1,000 again, but I would rather have him as my wide receiver too. Dev, what are you thinking? Oh, and we just got you on mute, my friend.
It's so crazy that we have both these guys in the top 10 of our wide receiver rankings. Nuts. So for Mike Evans, he's 26, turning 27, should be entering the prime of his career. In 2019, he appeared in 13 games. He had 67 receptions, 1,157 yards, and 8 touchdowns in 13 games. That's pretty darn good. Reported at camp on the Bucs official website have Brady repeatedly connecting with Evans. Evans has made several difficult catches look easy. Now, Brady is far more accurate than Winston. He doesn't throw it as much as Winston did, but because he's more accurate, he doesn't need to throw it as much as Winston does. The interesting thing here, too, to note is Evans is likely going to see less double coverage because teams have to now respect Godwin and with Gronk on the field. Most of the time in the past, you've seen people double or triple team Evans, and he's still coming up with it. So while I feel there may be less targets for Evans, you combine the efficiency of Tom Brady with the efficiency of Evans, and you got a top 10 wide receiver easily. And the one knock I would say, though, is there is some injury there. And the shared red zone targets, perhaps, with Gronk. But other than that, to me, I take him over Godwin. I think we've been over that on this show before. But, yeah, that's
That's hot. That's really hot. And I totally dig that. Aetan, what do you think? Are we going to have an OJ Howard sighting this year in Tampa Bay?
Sure. I mean, why not, right? I mean, he'll see the field eventually, but I can see them going with two tight end. Yeah. Should you draft OJ Howard? No, you shouldn't. No. They'll be going with the 2 tight end set. Maybe they'll try to rekindle the magic of Hernandez and Gronk. OJ Howard has a lot of talent. He has the potential to actually become something. The question is, will he do it on this team, or will he ever do it? He kind of reminds me of Ebron with all the hype around him through his draft year. Maybe all of a sudden he'll appear out of nowhere and catch 16 touchdowns in one season, and you'll go, damn, why did we sleep on Howard? But I don't think he's much of a threat fantasy-wise until he proves he can. The one thing I would caution about Evans is I do think that there is a difference in quarterback with Winston not being there anymore, because he would just close his eyes and throw the ball in triple coverage, and Evans would come down with it. I don't think Brady's stupid enough to do that. So maybe Evans will see more efficient catching, like Devin alluded to, and I definitely do think that one of these 2 guys is going to finish as a WR1, and I think one of them will not. I think Devin's onto something when he's picking one over the other. I think Godwin's the safer choice, but I can totally see it the other way. I don't think this offense will produce 2 wide receivers in the top 12, though. So I think one of them will drop out.
Yeah, no doubt. And given that draft capital, there's no way you're getting both. So, yeah, definitely pick your favorite and then go forward with that. We're going to go ahead and hop around a little bit. We're going to do our wide receiver 10 before we do our wide receiver 9. We're going to chat about Adam Thielen. He's coming back from he's coming back. Wow. Coming back from injury from last season. Now Adam Thielen is the only game in town in that Minnesota Vikings offense after the Stephon Diggs trade. Now, the Vikes are expected to have a regressing defense, and it's almost impossible to expect the run game to have the same efficiency that it had in 2019. And let's not forget, Thielen averaged close to 150 targets in each of 2017 and 2018. So believe it until you see otherwise. Thielen is a great wide receiver 2 option with wide receiver 1 upside. Tyler, are you drafting Adam Thielen this year as your wide receiver 1? And you're muted, bud.
Yeah, sorry, bud. No, I'm not. I'm not wide receiver 1 high on Adam Thielen. Yeah, he is the only show in town with Diggs leaving. But that offense runs through Dalvin Cook, and it's going to continue to run. And I literally mean run the ball as much as they can. So Thielen
Until he
is
gets
going
hurt
to get
again. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, Thielen's going to get. He's going to have his big games. He'll probably have a handful of multiple touchdown games, and you're going to be envying having Thielen there. But he's also going to have his games where he's not going to do it. And I think he's going to have more games where he does nothing, where he's going to have, a 3-catch, 25-yard game more often than these multi-touchdown games. So as far as wide receiver one, absolutely not. If he's hanging around there, say in the third round, late third round, fourth round, I am going for him for sure. But as far as the guys we've talked about in this show so far, he's definitely below all of them.
That's fair. We had a huge reaction from Aetan in the corner there. What happened there, man? You heard Adam Thielen's name and you're just like, oh, what's going on?
I got this guy ranked as the 7th wide receiver this year. I have him probably the highest out of everyone in our podcast here.
It's true.
I really like what this guy shows. I mean, people are worried about the injury, but he did 5 years in a row without missing a single game. Or is it 6? No, 5 years in a row without missing a single game. I mean, he's very durable, and I think he's going to continue on catching a lot of passes with Diggs gone, and they're going to have to use him more. Dalvin Cook can't keep running at the same rate that he has been because he keeps getting hurt. They can't just blow everything on Dalvin Cook. They'll regret it. So I totally see them. They switched their play caller this year. I totally see him being a huge part of this offense, and I definitely want some shares of him. And I just want to also put a huge caveat that just because I have him ranked 7th, this is a big thing with all of us on this podcast. Just because we have a player ranked somewhere does not mean you should drop him. This is based on ADP, and this is based on what you think their end will be. You can take the gamble if you really, really love someone, but you really want to try to be grabbing someone around their ADP. So Thielen should be around a 3rd round wide receiver. I have him ranked as a 2nd round wide receiver. I would not drop him.
Yeah, that's beautiful and great advice for everybody who's watching the show. Definitely get that value where you can. Speaking of value, sometimes it feels like you're digging in the trash when you're talking about the Chicago Bears recently. No offense, guys. But let's talk about Allen Robinson. Now, much like DeAndre Hopkins' career, Allen Robinson has succeeded despite QB play. Last season, he had over 150 targets, and this season it could be more of the same. Anthony Miller, of course, is a very popular sleeper candidate, but he's mainly going to be mopping up the vacated targets from Taylor Gabriel. Now, he posted wide receiver 2 or better numbers in 62% of his games, which was 5th behind only Michael Thomas, DeAndre Hopkins, Julio Jones, and Devontae Adams. Now, the fact that the Bears snagged Nick Foles only helps the Bears receivers, as now they have twice the chance to have competent quarterback play. Allen Robinson definitely should be considered a high floor, low end wide receiver 1, in my opinion, with lots of upside. Devan, what's your take on Allen Robinson this season?
I like him. Now, again, he's another guy at 27 years old. I mentioned that year. It seems to be a good year for wide receivers going into their prime. He's delivered top 12 fantasy seasons with Blake Bortles and Mitch Trubisky. The Bears have traded for Nick Foles to either push Trubisky or potentially take over if Trubisky doesn't pan out. I believe that that's improved quarterback play in general, one way or the other. And with that, Robinson should reap the rewards of that. Last year, now he had 98 receptions, 1,147 yards, 7 touchdowns. Even with a struggling Trubisky, he's going to be heavily relied upon. He's the main threat of that offense. A couple knocks on him, he does have a history of injuries, and more than likely he's going to be double teamed unless Miller and Ted Ginn Jr. Learn to contribute better.
I love that take. No, that's very good. Tyler, what are you thinking? Who would you rather have, Adam Thielen or Allen Robinson?
Oh, I'm going Allen Robinson all day on that one. I'm pretty big on Allen Robinson. I I think he's one of the more underrated guys out there on the charts right now because I guess playing in that Bears offense, nobody's excited about having a Bears player on their fantasy team just with the way things have gone the last couple of years for them. But Allen Robinson's putting up those big numbers. Looking back, he put up over 1,100 yards last year, 7 touchdowns. It's pretty solid there. And I feel like he can. I mean, with Foles coming in there, I think he's going to improve. I'm pretty sure Foles will take that starting position at some point this year, and that's only good news for Allen Robinson as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I can't agree more with that. Allen Robinson definitely in line for a phenomenal season. It's going to be a good time, guys. That's 2020 for you. The top 6 to 10 wide receivers that we've got on the channel. We got to pay some bills. But we'll catch you on the flip side. Join us in our drive for 500 subscribers, and you could win a signed Amari Cooper jersey. Are you new to the channel? Give us a like, subscribe, and click the notify bell. It helps a ton for a new channel like ours. We're going to have a random draw for a signed Amari Cooper jersey shipped anywhere in North America. So go ahead, click subscribe, and thank you for watching the CANAM Fantasy Football Podcast. The CANAM Fantasy Football Podcast is trying to hook you guys up with some great fantasy football knowledge, and we're talking wide receivers 11 to 15, rounding out our little series of the top 15 wide receivers this year for 2020. We've got Aetan, Tyler, Devan, and Ryan here helping you out, helping you figure out what is really an exciting area of players to draft right now. We've got let's see here. Well, you know, sometimes when you click on things and it's live, it doesn't work. Wide receiver 11 to 15. We've got a really exciting, spicy group right here. There's Calvin Ridley. But first, we're going to talk about Kenny Golladay, who we currently got as the channel's consensus 11th wide receiver off the board. Now, despite the return of Marvin Jones, I still believe that Kenny Golladay can have an amazing 2020. He finished as the wide receiver 6 last year, and he finished as wide receiver 3 or better only 56% of the time last year. Now, he is, of course, a boom or bust option, and he's better paired with a wide receiver 2 with a consistent floor. Aetan, how are you looking to get Kenny Golladay on your teams this season?
Quite honestly, I don't think I am. I think that where his ECR is a little higher than I'm wanting to pay. So unless this guy drops quite a bit, I don't think I will see a lot of shares in him. I think that team had a lot of injuries last year. They were missing Melvin Gordon. They were missing, I keep saying that. Marvin Jones. That's twice now I've done that. They were missing Marvin Jones. They were missing Hawkinson for a bit, and they were missing their running back there, Kerryon Johnson. And, he was the only target they possibly had. So he ate a lot because that was the only option that was there. I think once everyone's there and healthy, you'd see a little bit of regression. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I guess that's my new name, eh? And
for the rest of the show, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think he's like, I think his ECR right now is, at least wide receiver wise, is somewhere around 7, is it not?
Yes, it is, yeah.
Yeah, so that's too high in my opinion. I mean, I'm going for a lot of guys before I do go for him. But if I do get him, I'm not going to be sad. I'm not going to be sitting there sulking. I think he's a great player, and if he falls a couple spots, I'll have no problem drafting him.
You're bringing up kind of an interesting conversation then, because when I think of Galladay, I'm not necessarily thinking of drafting him in the 11th spot either. And it's interesting because this is our consensus ranking for this channel. Tyler, are you the high man on Kenny Galladay or what?
You're muted again. Still muted.
Okay, sorry guys.
Yeah.
Anyway, what I was saying is, no, I'm not the guy who's looking at Kenny Galladay. I agree with a lot of Aetan said, and what I would say, and it kind of goes against what I earlier had said about Allen Robinson, is that I'm not excited about this offense at all. I don't think Detroit's in a position where they're planning to be successful this year. I think they're building for the future. It's a shame for Matt Stafford because it's winding down his years there, but I don't see them moving the ball down the field a lot. I don't see a lot of red zone looks for Galladay because of that. He had 11 touchdowns last year. I see that regressing. And where this guy is going right now, if you're not even excited about 11 touchdowns, you shouldn't be drafting him in that spot. I have him down probably in the low 4th round for me, which I think most drafts he won't be there anyway. So I'm like Aetan said, I'm not looking to have many shares of him this year.
Well, that's quite interesting. So I guess we'll have to chat about figuring out who's done this to us. Who's done this? Who's put Kenny Galladay so high? I don't know. Anyways, let's move right along. Let's talk about Calvin Ridley. Now he's poised for a 3rd season breakout, and Ridley has a real chance to post top 10 numbers this year. Aetan in a previous episode mentioned how well Calvin Ridley is positioned, how he kind of is giving people those Chris Godwin vibes. Now, Mohamed Sanu is gone. So there goes 90 targets out the door. And before his injury last season, Ridley was on pace for 1,066 yards and 8 touchdowns, which would have him as the wide receiver 15. Now, Julio will be getting a lot of double teams. That's just kind of the way that goes. And that's a high octane offense that we're dealing with. So, Dev, when you're looking at Calvin Ridley, what are you thinking? How are you going about getting Calvin Ridley on your roster this year?
He's certainly a very exciting player. He's an elite talent. Drafted 26 overall in 2019 out of Alabama. Same place where Amari Cooper and Julio Jones came from. So you know that they can produce some good wide receivers. He had about 15% of the target share last year, and produced top 24 fantasy numbers. Now he's capable of having huge games and big plays. I could definitely see his target share increasing to about around 20%, maybe a 5% uptick. The one thing, it's an interesting case study here too. The league now knows who he is, so he's gonna start seeing some more attention. They're gonna be game planning for him on defense. They will have to respect him and Julio. So perhaps he will be less open this year and maybe less of those big open plays. In turn, will that free up Julio? Matt Ryan's passed about over 600 times each of the last 2 seasons. So there's plenty to go around. Just an interesting case study here because now you got Calvin Ridley. If the league's going to be respecting Ridley more, maybe Julio is going to have a crazy big year this year, and Ridley just kind of stays where he is, and he's not going to be like this crazy explosive takeover Julio Jones thing. I don't know. It's an interesting thought, but either way, the guy's incredibly talented, and you should be happy when you draft him. Can't hear you.
Yeah, we can't hear you, Ron.
You're muted.
Whoa, check.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, you're back.
Yeah.
So I wasn't muted. I unplugged myself.
Oh,
Okay.
Let me just quickly jump in on the Ridley chat because I think all of us are quite high on him and we're all quite quite excited about him. When I watch this guy, I see a lot of Amari Cooper in him. He's probably top 5 in the NFL at route running. Amari Cooper is, and Ridley's just as good as him, in my opinion. He's very, very good at getting separation. He's very quick at his cuts, and he can get himself quite a bit. Of yardage of separation between him and his corners. So I think there's a lot of opportunity for him to flourish, and I think he's this year's Godwin. I think he could easily finish in the top 5 by the end of the year.
Yeah. So in other words, you're not going to be drafting him in any league that you're drafting with one of us.
Well,
there's no way.
It depends.
You have to jump up pretty high to get him.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm also excited about that because it means you guys are passing on talent you shouldn't be if you're jumping too high. So I'm okay with missing out on him if you're dropping the wrong players to him. So I will say that I would love to get this guy on my team, and we'll see how everything unfolds.
Yeah, imagine getting Calvin Ridley with like just plum dumb luck or something. That'd be pretty crazy.
If you
now
can
we're
grab this
talking
guy
about
in the 4th. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Ooh, that would be beautiful.
Yeah.
What about that case study though? Like could this be an even bigger year for Julio instead?
I do like that take.
I like that take. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And
I think one thing we've mentioned about Atlanta quite a few times throughout these shows is every single starter on their offense is a first-round draft pick. Every single guy is a proven guy in the NFL. So,
well, I mean, like actual NFL draft, not fantasy. I totally get you. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Sorry. NFL draft is what I'm talking about. So this offense, I'm expecting to take off, and I think Ridley's gonna be a huge part of it. So just adding to what these guys said, I'm also very excited about.
That's beautiful. I totally dig that. And why don't we keep you unmuted because we're going to talk about another offense that has 2 amazing wide receivers. Let's talk about Robert Woods. Now, despite a ridiculously low TD total last year, Robert Woods has remained one of the most consistent wide receivers in the NFL. Now, he is finished as wide receiver 3 or better, just shy of 70% of his career. Now, if he hits positive TD regression, we could be looking at a top 12 finish for 2020 for Robert Woods, and that obviously is going to make Tyler happy, isn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I mean, the Rams, they lost Gurley, they lost Cooks. There's a lot of room for guys to step up. And Robert Woods is in a prime position to be the guy that steps up and takes a lot of those, not only targets but end zone targets. And I think one thing you got to think about with Woods is he's that guy who could play both. Because he could be that slot guy for you, or he could be the deep ball guy. He does everything. He's like jack of all trades. And in that Rams offense with Sean McVay running things, he's gonna come up. He's had a whole season to stew over not making the playoffs last year. He's got some tricks up his sleeve, and Robert Woods is gonna factor in big time. So I expect Robert Woods to see the end zone at least 8 times as a minimum. So that's already a huge improvement. And then you got
that's a career high.
Yeah, exactly. So add that to those yards he gets all the time. Because if you look at his past few years, sorry, my thing went down. But like his yardage, he's over 1,100 yards his last 2 years, and just under 800 his first year with the Rams. So he's putting up the yards for sure, and I think that those yards are going up without some of those other guys there. So I'm expecting Robert Woods. I feel like wide receiver 1 is very high for him. I don't know if he's going to quite hit that, but high end wide receiver 2 all day for me, I think.
Aetan?
Oh, I like that take a lot, 100%. He's very consistent. He's probably one of, if not the safest wide receiver. I pretty much think of him as the same person as Allen Robinson. The only difference is you're drafting him 2 rounds later, a round and a half later. So I love
yeah, that's gorgeous.
I absolutely do. And if he can hit that 7-8 touchdown, you're looking at extremely high running back at extremely great value. So there's a lot to like about him. He's only 28, Devin's favorite number. So at least favorite age, I should say, for wide receiver. it just everything equals out to, you're talking about probably one of the safest picks you could possibly make in this whole draft. I really don't think that there's a safer player out there.
Now, Dev, you go early round 4 to get Robert Woods, or what do you think?
Well, I'm a Cup guy, so I take Cup over Woods, but yeah, he's the bigger touchdown guy to me. So
yeah, he's definitely a touchdown guy. Yeah,
but and I mean, unless Woods has it, what's the highest touchdown season?
6.
6 touchdowns is 2 seasons ago.
Right.
Yep.
That's sharing time with Ben Cooks too. So and Gurley.
Yeah. I could see him repeating 6, but I think Cup is just. I'm a Cup guy. I love Woods though, nothing against him. But you're asking me this question, and I take Cup over Woods. So.
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah.
Right around the same range too. So we were talking about a big touchdown guy. Let's talk about a big wide receiver that's all about touchdowns guy. That's AJ Brown. Now, despite being installed as a full-time player, only after week 9 and seeing just 84 targets, AJ Brown finished as the number 21 wide receiver in his rookie season. It was amazing what Ryan Tannehill was able to do for that Tennessee offense. Like, he provided some stability where there wasn't any with that Marcus Mariota guy. It had nothing to do with the college he went to. And then, so could Ryan Tannehill provide AJ Brown with over 100 targets this year? In order for that to happen, you have to hope that Tennessee will up their passing volume, and that could potentially happen. Dev, do you think that they'll be able to do that?
As I was like preparing for this, I was thinking about that, and I don't know. So the interesting, like, AJ Brown had a great rookie season. He ranked second in the league for yards per catch, 84 targets, 52 receptions, 1,051 yards, and 8 touchdowns. He had 5 100-yard games. Now that he's gained the trust and has a full-time role on the spot, will he see more targets? Maybe. But as Ryan alluded to, you're gonna need Tannehill. They're gonna have to throw the ball more, and I don't know if that's necessarily what they want to do. I think they want to run the ball more. I think they'll be more conservative. So then that's where I'll go to the knock on him. They're, again, like I said, they're run heavy. He seems to be a little bit boom and busty week to week. He can go off, and then so he's not very consistent week to week. The other thing that's kind of interesting here, Corey Davis is still there. And I know we can laugh about him, and it's true, he is someone to laugh at, but he was drafted 5th overall in 2017. And there was a note that came out of camp that Tannehill said he wants to get Davis more involved and build some more chemistry with him because there is talent there. So it's just an interesting thing to look at. I going into the season, I was a huge AJ Brown guy after what I saw towards the end of the year, and those 5 100-yard minimum games were just very impressive. But looking at Titans in their whole offense and the Corey Davis thing and all that, I think I was actually starting to get a little bit too high on him. But he is incredibly talented. I just think that the Titans are not going to be airing it out too much. So just keep that in mind when you're drafting him.
Yeah, most definitely. I think that's a great take, Dev, for sure. Let's go ahead and move on to the bottom of the list, but definitely not the bottom in our hearts. Wide receiver 15, the consensus wide receiver 15 of the CANAM Fantasy Football podcast channel on YouTube.com is Amari Cooper. Now, he's one of my favorites this year, despite some adjustments that Dallas has made that might not necessarily be beneficial to him fantasy-wise, and I get it. I mean, you don't add a talent like CeeDee Lamb without wanting to use him. And you also have Michael Gallup, who went for over 1,000 yards last year, and I see him repeating that. I love Michael Gallup this year. But here's the thing. I don't think we've seen all that Amari Cooper has to offer. You know, he finished as the wide receiver 9 last year, and that's despite walking wounded for the majority of the season. Now, the additions to the receiver core, as well as hopefully Blake Jarwin, as I like to call him, taking the next step will allow Cooper to finally roam the field. And that way you can utilize him to his top potential. And I feel like I'm not a Cowboys fan, if the Cowboys are able to partner that with his ability to separate, which is elite level separation, that could be a recipe for a top 3 finish. And of course, Aetan, you must love hearing my take on that because I love Amari Cooper this year.
Yeah, and you know what? I put him lower on my list than I probably should have, and that's just because the same reason that I did Tyke Hill. I prefer my wide receivers to be more consistent, and Amari Cooper does have a lot of boom and bust in this game, whether that's lack of play calling or bad play calling, or it's just the nature of the beast. I mean, the guy is open, so I don't know why his inconsistency is there, but when he booms, I mean, it was a game last year. He put up 3 touchdowns against the Eagles. It's incredible what he can do in some of the games. As for CeeDee Lamb coming in, I keep hearing people fading the Gallup and Cooper because CeeDee Lamb's there, but they subtracted. I've said this before, and I'll keep saying it. They subtracted Jason Witten and they subtracted Randall Cobb, who combined for 163 targets. So there's 163 targets up for this offense, and for whatever reason, Blake Jarwin's not going to see as many as he probably should, and it's probably as much as I'd like him to see. So conservatively, I'll say that Blake Jarwin's going to see about 50 balls. There's still 110 more passes to go around. I don't think CeeDee Lamb's going to see 110, so that means Cooper and Gallup are going to see more. Their values are going to increase if Dak is able to repeat what he did last year. And I think that this whole offense as a whole, there's lots of pieces on it, and you'd be wise to grab a couple pieces throughout it because this is going to be an extremely high fantasy offense.
Absolutely. Anyone have any defense on their lower take of Amari Cooper? Why don't we shoot to Tyler? Yes, no, maybe so.
Yeah, I mean, Aetan is the resident Cowboys expert, so I'm not going to try to out-knowledge him on this one. When on draft night, or the NFL draft night, when I saw CeeDee Lamb go to the Cowboys, I immediately thought, okay, Gallup and Cooper are not gonna produce the way they did. But He does bring up some points. They did lose some targets, so I mean, you could always factor in maybe they're not going to have as many targets. They are going to be a better team this year. I mean, they have a really tough week 1 opponent, but other than that, they should have a good season. So I think they're going to be winning a lot of games, which means they're not going to have to throw the ball. Like Dak's not going to have to throw the ball as much, which might take away from the targets in itself because they're winning games. So I mean, that's something to factor in. I don't think it's something you're going to base your fantasy picks off of, though. So yeah, I mean, maybe I am devaluing Cooper a little bit too much.
I like that take. And you're talking about the draft, CeeDee Lamb. Of course, the moment his name is picked, everybody's like, why did Dallas draft a wide receiver?
Exactly.
For one. But also, when you saw CeeDee Lamb's name get drawn, full credit to the NFL for their hype packages because, oh my gosh. They made you completely forget just how good Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup are. Because, you saw CeeDee Lamb getting drafted. I know for myself, because of all the hype around the draft and whatnot, they do such a great job of getting you invested, getting you excited for those new players that are, the new shiny toy. That you're just like, oh, they must all be screwed. And that's not necessarily the case.
Yeah, we going into the NFL draft, we're thinking, oh, CeeDee Lamb's going to end up somewhere like the Jets or somewhere that doesn't have a lot of wide receiver talent. And, he's going to be
Philly.
This top end rookie that's going to take over and be like a number 1 receiver in any offense he goes to. And then he gets drafted by a team that's already stacked on wide receiver. So then I guess that's kind of drawback. And then you draw back the other wide receivers because of that. Because you see, why would they get a guy this talented? But you know what? They hit the jackpot on him falling that far.
Oh, they did. Absolutely. Not only that, but you're taking CeeDee Lamb away from a divisional opponent. That is 4D chess right there. So I don't necessarily want to give you guys too much credit, but that was a bold and awesome move. I loved it.
You know what? It was revenge for when the Eagles traded up to get the pick right before the Cowboys and drafted Dallas Goedert. So I think the Cowboys, I honestly think there was a little bit of revenge in this pick. I think they were doing it to kind of screw over the Eagles a little bit, but the Eagles still got Jalen Ranger.
Jalen Reagor, yep.
Yeah, and he's going to be phenomenal there. So they'll be fine, but I'm very excited to see CeeDee Lamb. And I don't think it's the worst idea because it gives them an opportunity to move on from Amari Cooper in a couple of years. If the contract gets to be too big, they can cut ties with Cooper and they can roll with Gallup and CeeDee Lamb. So I like the pick. Obviously, it's an exciting pick, and it's one of those fun ones for your team. It's a lot funner to see them grab a skilled player than a depth player or a lineman, even though you need those players a lot more than people realize.
That's true. Shiny toys are awesome for sure.
Yeah.
Well, that was the Can-Am Fantasy Football Podcast Top 15. If you're watching live, well, we got more content for you. We're going to chat about some honorable mentions and a couple of other things. What have we learned throughout this episode? We'll catch you on the flip side of the break. Join us in our drive for 500 subscribers, and you could win a signed Amari Cooper jersey. Are you new to the channel? Give us a like, subscribe, and click the notify bell. It helps a ton for a new channel like ours. We're going to have a random draw for a signed Amari Cooper jersey shipped anywhere in North America. So go ahead, click subscribe, and thank you for watching the Can-Am Fantasy Football Podcast. Streaming live into your homes from good old YouTube.com. This is the Can-Am Fantasy Football Podcast. We just got done chatting about the top 15 wide receivers of 2020. We talked a lot. We fought a little bit. Oh, wait, what is this? What is this? A wild Randy has appeared.
Hey, guys.
Hey, Randy.
Hey, Randy, how's it going?
It's
almost like you were always here.
In the background.
It's beautiful to have you in the background because we're going to pull the curtain back because this is what we do. We want to make sure everybody who's watching has a full understanding of what's going on. Or do we? I don't know. But yeah, Randy in the background. Really good takes throughout the show. Thank you so much, bud. Really appreciate it. Let's go ahead and talk about some honorable mentions. Devan, do you have a couple words about T.Y. Hilton?
Yeah, I think he's ranked outside, his ADP is outside the top 25, and I want him to just stay there because I'll be drafting him and taking that value like crazy. Last year, he had an injury-plagued year, worst fantasy season of all time. I know because I had him. It was pretty brutal. He's got an upgrade on quarterback from Jacoby Brissett to Phillip Rivers. Now, the good thing there is there's some familiarity with Rivers and head coach Frank Wright and offensive coordinator Nick Sirianni. They were together in 2013 on the Chargers. They have a fantastic offensive line. Plenty of time for Rivers to sling the ball. Rivers was dealt a bad situation with LA last year with that O-line. I mean, the guy was constantly getting chased and sacked, and he turned the ball over a lot as a result. This is a match made in heaven for Rivers. So now reports out of camp on the Colts website also have Frank Wright saying he's loving the chemistry growing between Rivers and Hilton. Rivers is fully expected to throw the ball a lot to Hilton. The thing is Hilton has actually fully recovered from his hamstring injury. He's a full participant in practice, going hard, taking lots of reps. That's good to hear. If you look at Rivers in recent years, he had a guy by the name of Keenan Allen, who Rivers tends to get tunnel vision for certain people, certain wide receivers, and he did that with Keenan Allen. Could Hilton be his tunnel vision Allen guy? Perhaps. Who knows? But it's looking good so far, and I love his ADP value. The knock on Hilton, of course, is his injury concern. He is a little bit of a boom and bust or boomy busty player. There is Paris Campbell, who's in his second year, and they drafted Pittman Jr., and they want to get him injected in the lineup right away. So those are the concerns there. You can bake them in. I just think that he's due for a really big bounce back year, and I really like the Colts this year.
No doubt. Well, I think that brings us to another one of our honorable mentions. Randy, who you want to talk about that we missed in the top 15?
Dev just mentioned his name, so I just had to mention it. Keenan Allen. He's kind of coming into the year as the forgotten guy. Phillip Rivers has moved on. Tyrod Taylor, who is frankly an unimpressive passer, is coming in as the incumbent going into the year. But you have a bright future with Justin Herbert whenever he actually is given the reins. But, I mean, how much of a downgrade is Taylor really going to be for a guy like Keenan Allen, who is super, super talented? I mean, you look back at 2019, and the guy was the wide receiver 8 in half PPR, and he is currently going as the wide receiver 23. And to me, that's just absolutely insane. So, yeah, I get some drop off coming into a season where you've had that kind of personnel change, but to drop him that low just seems absolutely criminal to me. And if I see him sitting there in that right value spot, he's the guy that I'm looking at in that kind of 20 to 30 range, and I'm going to be snapping up a lot of shares of him if I can. And
it's amazing for my mic to be muted. Super sneaky. It's funny how for as high as he is, he kind of feels like a sleeper this year, which is weird because he's proven it before.
It's the quarterback, though. Tyrod Taylor is very uninspired.
Yeah, that's true. We haven't seen much out of Tyrod Taylor. Taylor.
Is that actually
Justin Herbert's going to take that position.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And do you think
Tyrod Taylor
or Justin Herbert? Do you think he's much of an upgrade on Tyrod?
He can be.
I think he is. I think he's. I mean, they wouldn't have drafted him where they did if they didn't think he had the mechanics. I mean, his days in Oregon, he proved he's a winner. He proves he can move the ball down the field in a pretty what's the word? It's a pretty NFL style offense. Like they run a pretty complicated offense. I guess I'll use that word. So I think Herbert will take that job. Probably, I would expect week 6, week 7, and I think that's going to help Al. Because like Randy said, I'm not too blown away by Tyrod, but Allen could be a guy that people sleep on, and then all of a sudden they win the league with them because he's booming the right part of the season, like in your fantasy playoffs.
Absolutely, and he is. We're talking about angry A-Rod. We've got an angry Keenan Allen for sure. He wants some people to put some respect on his name. Why don't we go ahead and move to Tyler's honorable mention? That's Juju Smith-Schuster.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I got to say, I can't believe this guy didn't crack our top 15 consensus. I mean, I had him personally at 11. Yeah, I had him 11 for my personal rankings. You got to look at this guy. I mean, obviously last year I feel was definitely an anomaly. I mean, obviously with the Roethlisberger injury and a couple key linemen go down, and all of a sudden your offense is looking pretty weak. So I'm not looking at last year. I'm looking at 2 years ago. This guy put up 1,400 yards, 111 receptions. Those are wide receiver 1 numbers, no matter how you look at it. So, and this is when he's the second wide receiver option behind Antonio Brown 2 years ago. So I'm expecting. I'm not expecting him to put up those numbers. I mean, I'd love to see that, but I think he's going to be closer to those numbers than what he did last year. I think I think you could bank on 1,100 yards on this guy easily. You could bank on at least 70 receptions for this guy, I think. And you know what? They're going to be in the end zone. They're going to be playing in the red zone a lot more, and he's going to be in the end zone a lot more because this team they made the playoffs on their defense last year, and their defense is just as good as it was last year. So they're going to get the ball. They're going to get the ball in key positions, and he's their go-to guy as far as wideouts are concerned. So yeah, I think Juju is a great pick for where he's going right now.
Yeah, I totally agree. I just wanted to bring up our consensus sheet to defend my position. I had him at 13th.
I didn't have him at 30. I don't. Yeah.
No, it's anyone who sees a 38. That's just a little thing we do for the algorithm so that we get the best averages of the numbers. So don't worry about it.
Cool.
Yep, you should be ashamed
This
of
is
yourself for
this
playing
is
30.
this is some great. Anyways, why don't we go ahead and wrap it up? We've got
Hold
one
on.
more.
If we're
We
gonna
got
do-
one more. Oh,
Yeah. Sorry.
What?
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead.
I forget the guy I originally was going to say I was going to argue, but looking at our top 15 and not seeing Odell Beckham there has got me all irked up here. So I'm going to jump on Odell Beckham here. I cannot believe that he's not in our top 15. I mean, this guy went to a brand new team last year, and he was on the injury report on week 8, and he was on the injury report every single game from that point until the end of the season with a sports hernia. He kept playing through it because he wanted to prove he's worth his ticket. He wanted to prove to the Cleveland fans that he's good. And this guy still put up 1,000 yards and 7 touchdowns with a hernia. I mean, there's no reason to doubt that this guy, if this guy plays 16 games, I guarantee he's going to hit top 12. He's that good. He's as good as a wide receiver as we can see. Like, he's as good as Julio. He's as good as, maybe not Julio, but he's as good as a lot of these other guys that you see in the top. I mean, the talent is just through the roof with him. And the fact that he's not on our top 15 is actually quite criminal, to be honest.
Yeah, I really like that take. Me personally, I feel like despite the fact that he's had a couple of lag seasons, he is elite talent. And if they can get things clicking in that Cleveland offense, there's no reason why he wouldn't be able to put up some great numbers. I mean, let's face it, he managed to do his best work with Eli Manning throwing him the ball. Come on, guys.
Yeah.
Anyways, okay, so we'll go ahead and wrap this episode up. By the way, thank you so much for joining us. It means a lot. CANAM Fantasy Football Podcast. We're going to do a little thing that we like to call, What Did We Learn? So I'm going to go ahead and go around the horn, and just because Aetan happens to be next to me, Aetan, what did we learn today?
I learned that I'm too low on my boy Amari Cooper, even though I defended him quite a bit. But the fact that I have him ranked 14 or 15 is probably a little bit too low now that I think about it. And I also learned that I'm going to get a lot of shares of Thielen over people who aren't as high on him. So I'm all aboard that train, and I'm excited to see where that one lands me.
I dig that. Tyler, what did we learn today?
Well, Aetan stole my thing, but I was going to say I'm down on both Cooper and Gallup. Yeah, looking at those missing targets that are out there, that's the exact recipe for guys stepping up and having big years. So I think actually, okay, so I'll take Gallup then. Okay, I've been fading Gallup pretty low. I think I'm going to probably look at him as, you know, he could be a sneaky wide receiver too that actually gets you a lot of points this year. So yeah, I'm gonna look at him because I think Aetan's right. The Cowboy offense is going to be elite this year. I mean, I can look at that as maybe even one of the top offenses in the league behind KC, Baltimore, and maybe New Orleans. Then I don't see anybody else up there. So yeah, I'm gonna look at those Cowboys wide receivers for sure.
Totally dig that, Devan.
What
What did we learn today?
Excuse me. I think as I was talking about AJ Brown right on this show, I started to realize more and more that I'm probably going to be dropping him down in rankings a little bit more, just as I was saying, talking out loud about everything. So yeah, that's what came to me.
Wow, that's pretty amazing, actually. I really dig that. Randy.
Well, I learned being in the background that you guys are all a bunch of Kenny Galladay haters, and
Whoa, I'm sorry. Where'd you go? It's weird. It's
Weird.
what? Hold on. Okay, I think he's back. Hold on. Sorry, Randy.
yeah, no worries. But yeah, no, you guys are way down on Kenny Galladay, and you were talking in the cast earlier. It's like, who's the high guy on Kenny Galladay? And I'm just sitting there like, yep, that's totally me. I have him 5th in my rankings. I believe in Galladay. He's got the nickname Babytron for a reason, and I'm just a little surprised people are so low on him. But that all said, I mean, wide receiver is such a deep position that we can all have a bunch of varying positions and just say, yeah, we don't care. We're drafting running back anyway, so who cares?
Yeah. That's so true. Oh my God. I really dig that take. Thank you, Randy. And what did I learn today? Well, I think I'm too low on Mike Evans. I'm actually really, after hearing what Devan said about just the separation that Mike Evans can get, what Tom Brady can do with his accuracy, maybe I'm a little too low on him. Maybe I dig it. Well, boys, we only have one plug today, and that plug goes to Devan. Devan, what is the soundtrack of all of our summers? Well, at least mine.
The soundtrack of all our summers? Something by Drake. Check out my band Wild Dove at Wild Dove Live. At Wild Dove Live on Instagram and Facebook, and I got an EP and a single, and I got a new single coming out, which happens to be the theme of our show.
Yeah, that's the beautiful music that you've been listening to all throughout this episode. So thank you all for checking out our little show. Top 15 wide receivers of 2020. It's been great having you. It's been great talking football. Man, we're actually going to have football. I'm super excited. Well, for Randy, Devan, Tyler, and Aetan, I'm Ryan. Thank you for joining us, and good luck in your drafts this year. Join us in our drive for 500 subscribers, and you could win a signed Amari Cooper jersey. Are you new to the channel? Give us a like, subscribe, and click the notify bell. It helps a ton for a new channel like ours. We're going to have a random draw for a signed Amari Cooper jersey shipped anywhere in North America. So go ahead, click subscribe, and thank you for watching the CANAM Fantasy Football Podcast.